Hello and welcome to Power Breakfast as part of Investonomics. So we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Manickam of Sakthi Sugars joining in. Mr. Manickam, thanks a ton for joining us this morning. Mr. Manickam, I'm going to start by talking about what's happening in the sugar sector. The stocks in specific have been on a very strong run from the start of this year. But I do believe that the on-ground demand paints a very different story. Hospitality demand, of course, is suppressed, but I believe retail consumption is actually going up and supporting the decline that we're seeing in the hospitality demand.
Yeah, good morning, Samina. It's a pleasure talking with you this morning. Yeah, I mean, actually, the hotels and the cake shops, all of them are closed. But what we have seen on a lighter vein is a lot of the ladies have become home bakers. So they have nothing else to do in terms of time, and they're using this time to do a lot of baking. So the consumption is going up that way when people are staying home, and you have to do something. And when you have to do something, cooking is a hobby that you start doing it. So the consumption is going up a bit, but not very much. But I think more than the consumption of sugar, it's ethanol policy which is giving strength to the sugar industry. So the consumption of ethanol is going up. Hopefully, the government is now talking about going up to 20%. So that will probably make a difference.
So, Manickam, what are the sense? Give me a sense of what those numbers are looking like on the demand side. Then, of course, I'm assuming the retail consumption is not being able to offset the massive decline that we've seen, right, in India. So, the impact of COVID, how do those numbers look on ground?
See, basically, the retail consumption is not very much if you really look at it. I mean, a calculation is that if every Indian has one beverage a day with 2 spoons of sugar, right? That's about 4 million tons of sugar, because 2 spoons of sugar is about 10 grams times 1.3 billion people times 360 days. It's almost 4 million tons of sugar if you just had, one beverage. And our consumption is about 26 million. So assuming that we're having about 7 to 8 beverages equivalent. And normally, I think a person has not more than 1 or 2 beverages in a day. I mean, whether it be milk for children or, tea, coffee, whatever we look at it. So the consumption at the domestic level is not more than 1.2 million max, but most of it is going into, bakers and manufacturers, biscuits, soft drinks, and, hotels and stuff like that. And now with the lockdown coming in, that's the sector which is affected the maximum. Without retail, we are finding that industrial consumption is coming down. Industrial consumption coming down means basically how much can you eat more? I mean, you're not going to have 4 coffees just because you're on a lockdown, right? So, and possibly you're going to have it without sugar because you're not walking.
Right. Mr. Manickam, let's move focus on the domestic market to what is happening internationally. Because I believe that market has been looking up slightly, at least with the assistance from the government, pushing for those export numbers. How are you looking at the export segment? How much has the industry managed to do? And can the same be offset? Can the export market offset the domestic shortfall in demand?
Not really. I mean, what has happened is the government has been sending very, very positive signals towards the farmers by increasing cane price. And that has actually increased our production to almost 34 million. And the consumption is about 26. So we have a surplus of about 8 million tons. That basically gives us a problem of surplus which comes in. And adding 8 million tons every year is really actually adding to the stock in the country. And the government is giving subsidies to export it to the tune of almost 10 rupees a kilo, which is not viable. I mean, it's okay, you can do it once or twice, but you can't be doing it every year. So the solution is going to be lower cane prices and lower area of cane planted. That's basically the permanent solution.
Right. Commodity prices, of course, down and out. I believe sugar is down 70% from its peaks. But talk to me about what you're expecting in terms of the price trajectory internationally and, of course, locally as well. There has been some rebound, I believe, in the international sugar prices. But in terms of an outlook, how stable are you expecting prices to be? And what's the trajectory for local and domestic international prices?
Long term, I don't expect a major uptick in the global market. I mean, unless India goes out of the market. So India is actually the spoil sport. We have 2 years of shortage and we have 3 years of surplus, and we export in surplus and we import in the shortage. So we create the fluctuation in the world market. Literally, India is one which creates a whole confusion in the market by increasing cane prices, and then we produce too much and we don't know what to do with it. We export it to the subsidy, and then when we do that, the prices go down. The farmers don't grow cane again. Then we have a shortage coming in. So it's a cycle, and I've seen this cycle go on till 1964. I mean, when we started the sugar factory was 64. So if I look at the data from 64, I joined the business in 1980. So almost for 50 years, we have not seen changes except for the face of the government, but the policies have remained the same. So not much of a difference. So until we have a clear liberalization and open policy, it's not going to come in. But right now, if you look at it, we've gone back to the control Raj. We have release mechanism, we have control mechanism, everything has come back in. So I'm not quite sure if we know whether we are coming or going.
Talking about government and its policies, the government's effort on EBP has definitely helped the sector, right? I mean, from 0.8% to 8% now. And I think the expectation is about 25% in 2025. How is this sort of playing out? I know that currently the ethanol blending stands in that 5 to 8% range, right? What do you think does the government need to do to increase it? I mean, the intent is 25%, but in terms of execution, what do you think is needed from the government to make that push?
It's a very simple solution. I think most of the cars that are manufactured after 2006, or the ones with fuel injection, can burn up to 85% of ethanol with some modification in the engine, right? So what they should do is ban petrol from Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, and Chennai, which are polluted. So you can actually burn 85% ethanol and have clean air, and also have the sugar being consumed in a large way. So it'll be basically beneficial both to the population in terms of health, and also for the industry by way of getting rid of surplus stock. This would be a very easy solution, but I'm not sure if the government is going to accept that easily.
Yeah, I think it's the apprehension to accept even those easy sort of policy suggestions, right? But talk about your business, sir. How much of your business is ethanol? Are you sort of looking at building capacity to expand that? What does your current revenue mix stand at?
Right now, we are doing zero ethanol. In Tamil Nadu, really, there's not much of a demand for ethanol because the government is pushing us to sell alcohol for portable purposes. So most of the factories in Tamil Nadu do not produce ethanol. So we are just stuck with sugar and alcohol, which is bought by the distilleries. And not really, and we are not looking at investing huge amount, because this is the same mistake we made in investing in power in the 2006-7. Based on the promise by the government of 5 rupees a unit of power and all that, and everybody put in money into the power. And today the power is selling at 2.5 to 3 rupees. So most of us who invested in power are actually in trouble because the investment that we made at the behest of the government. So I don't think I'm keen on investing on the behest of the government again.
So you're not taking the bait, I see.
I'm not falling. I'm not falling.
So Manickam, now I think one thing that we commonly do more often than not is keep sanitizing our hands. My little children to my grandparents, all we're doing is sanitizing. Has the consumption of sanitization impacted your business at all?
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh, how unfortunate is that? Okay, let's continue talking about this. We are going to big elections, of course. Enough and more has been talked about that for other reasons. But what are areas looking like right now? Any sort of payouts done? What is the outstanding? What is looking like the outlook?
The areas in the south are low because we are not crushed much. All of us are operating around 25% of our capacity. But I believe in Maharashtra and UP, you would have the areas coming up because they need to get stock sold and moved. And with the new restrictions in terms of movement of people and the expected lockdowns, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And also, the migrant labor will be a major problem when the lockdowns come in. Maharashtra totally depends on migrant labor, as also UP, I believe.
Right. I think there's also been a constant demand from the industry on the MSP pricing. Not much has got done on it, but of course, we keep talking about it month on month and year on year when we talk to the industry leaders like yourself. Once again, what is it looking like on MSP?
See, MSP right now, the government is talking about, they've not increased it. They've been increasing the cane prices, but they've not increased the minimum sugar price. And this is again another control. And if you're looking at the current prices of sugar cane, which is around 30 rupees, we should get about 40 rupees if you were to calculate in terms of full cost. The MSP is at 31. You can obviously see that we're losing about 8 to 9 rupees a kilo. And that's basically what's happening with, the policies that be. So even if they increase the MSP to 34, I don't think with this surplus we're going to get to 34. You need to reduce the consumption, have release mechanism, constrain the supply. So, we can even do that today, constrain the supply and try to increase the prices, but that's not going to get rid of the stock. So we're in a loop, it's a catch-22. So we're going to keep running in this, and we've been running on this for the last 50 years. So.
Right. So what about earnings? That's around the corner for you as well. Can we be bullish? What is the general sort of I know the expectation the street might be slightly higher because there have been a few recent upgrades coming in from brokerages for the sector.
Yeah.
But is it looking promising for the next few quarters for you?
It's not bad for the north again. But the southern mills, we are under a lot of pressure in terms of recovery and the pricing. So and the volumes are also low in south. So we don't expect an uptake in the southern mills, but northern mills, yes, there will be a difference coming in.
So it's a somber quarter, I guess, once again then.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, thanks a ton, Mr. Manickam. It was great chatting with you this morning. Great to get some perspective on the sugar sector. It's, of course, been in the center of policies for years and years together, but hopefully there are some structural changes that start benefiting the sector as a whole. Thank you.
We're just crossing our fingers. Thank you very much.